Hey everyone, this is Crumbs, and today I'll be going through and revising how I have the map set up here in my spawn area. Currently I have a variety of different things up along the wall, so it needs to be updated. I about got this one, I think, figured out how I want it to be, but I got a whole bunch of maps. I got a couple perimeters, main storage, some old setups and stuff that I'm going to go through and revise and update today. For perimeters, I want to have something zoomed all the way out, so you can see the scale on the full size map, and also all the way zoomed in. So this is it's gonna be like 3x3, maybe 4x4. And I have some really old, like old mob farms and some other things I want to check out, maybe add onto my walls as well. So this is probably the first general mob farm I ever built. I think it actually kind of works. It's a little rough. I think it was just pathfinding based, where you waited for mobs to wander around and then fall into water streams and get pushed down the center. But yeah, I think the last time I came by here, I was surprised to find it actually worked. And oh yeah, so this was before I had Elytra. Apparently I didn't even have hoppers to collect anything. So this is rough. This is an old attempt, kind of partially failed attempt that I never really got anything out of. But yeah. Oh, it's opened up now. Maybe I had some other plans for it, but yeah, this was horrible. Didn't really work. Didn't get anything out of it. But hey, it's an old my first attempt to make a general mob farm. So I'll definitely save this on a map. All right, and here we are at an actual successful mob farm. It's a little rough, but it worked. And this was an attempted slime farm down here. It didn't work well, but it gave me enough to at least get started out. Okay. See, it's a bit rough. I didn't know what I was doing really with redstone at the time, but I kind of cobbled it together and it ultimately worked. Everything just got collected in a basic minecart. I pulled down here. I didn't know how to make item filters apparently, so I just manually sorted it out into chests. This is the first underwater ocean monument that I found and finally cleared. First came here. It's a little spot I set up. I need to tear this out. I'm going to move this over out so it's not on top of the farm, so it's not over any of the spawning spaces. But the reason this is the way it is if you can see down here, there's some sections of the roof missing. Turn this on, it perfectly lines up with some chunks. And at some point, I don't know why or how, but I came back from the nether and found 2 whole chunks completely missing from this farm. So you look now, you can see this section's been fixed, but this section here, I just covered over because because these 2 sections both regenerated, and when they did, so the chunk next to this over here regenerated as part of the ocean monument, but this chunk regenerated entirely as a gravel ocean floor. So I don't get guardian mob spawning in here anymore. so you know, it amused me enough that I figured I'd just leave it. And now I just have a non-functional chunk here. This part of my farm. And that's kind of fun, but I completely lost. I had an old sorting and crafting system, and the newer one that I built, it was nice. I used it to craft up a lot of sea lanterns when I filled in the floor at my double witch hut perimeter. But I have just a little bit of the decorative structure left, and the entire sorting and crafting system is completely gone. So I built just a temporary one. There's nothing fancy, just a basic sorting system and disposal for some stuff that I had hooked up temporarily so I could still, you know, craft some things. So yeah, I'm going to tear basically all this out, and I need to set up a new system back over here. This is my old main base. I have some newer farms in here as well, like this double spruce tree farm, like by Techman 88. The cactus farm is also a bit newer. You can tell they're made out of actually decent looking materials. And there's some kind of general plan to it. A bunch of the other things, like this netherwort farm, it's an ink farm. Got an old, I think this is my first iron farm I ever made. You know, it's one of the single cell farms. I later built a couple in my spawn chunks. But this out here was where I really started a lot of things off. This is someone else's design for the tree farm. As you can probably tell by how jury-rigged and terrible this looks. I figured out how to move the blocks together, push them over, and dispense TNT to automatically collect them. But yeah, just a bunch of my original basic farms were done here. And after all this, I ended up moving back into spawn. So I only come here now when I need to use the spruce tree farm, really. This here's another side of my passive mob farm perimeter. I got a little 4x4 elevator I made so I get horses up here. Yeah. So the only updates turn out to be a little bit of snow on the top left corner of the map. Obviously this is completely unfinished here in the center. I'll need to come back and actually build this thing. I have materials for it already. And some design plans and a bunch of features and things. I just need to get around to it. This one's a little out of the way. This is where I have my potion brewing set up here in the jungle. For some reason. It's unfortunately it's not going to show up. But apparently something caught on fire. Yeah, unfortunately this one's not going to show up very well on a map because I intentionally tried to build everything, you know, kind of down inside the jungle. This then is my potion brewing setup. It's very similar, I think, to Izuma's, where there's the potion brewing at the top, and then it feeds everything down into shulker boxes, and you can control how much it produces based on how many items you have in this chest. It'll take the output from there and put a comparable number of shulker boxes in this, and then when this about matches the fill level of the double chest back here, then it'll stop making the items. Of course, I had a creeper go off here. At some point, I had a mob switch turned off, so I need to replace these things to show what's in here. Here is this is going to be for all water bottles. You can just sit up here. You fill a whole bunch of bottles with water. They'll go down. They'll automatically fill in all the slots, and it shows you here whether there's still water bottles in any of these slices. So as long as any of these is lit, that means there's still enough in the system. But the more that aren't lit, the more you know that you're gonna need to come back and fill up at some point. Then you have shulker box input here, and blaze powder here, and nether wart in the back. So that's a common distribution. So if any of these is running, there will be a signal coming out here. I can hook it up with some portal chunk loaders. So that way, if any of these is running, it'll stay loaded, and when they're done running, it'll turn the portal-based chunk loading back off. This is built in 1.13, and I never got around to setting it up since I've updated yet. So this is my current setup for villager trading. Also have I try to get a salmon farm in a river. This was horrible and dysfunctional. Barely gets anything, but there's a little spot here that was kind of cut off with a bunch of tropical fish, and this one works really well. And I have a bunch of the fishers along this side I can trade with, and then I'm still working on getting all the tools set up properly, but the villages are ultimately stored down below when I do get what I want. And then I just have a clock that shows about when everything's good to trade, and all the fish get dropped into stuff up here into these chests. Obviously you don't have many salmon, but you can trade all the other ones very well. And down here in the back, of course, I have the conversion setup where I just drop them down, they get converted, pop them back up. So it's still a bit rough, but it works. I have all my librarians over here. I got a bunch of folks I've been trading with, and then I have the toolsmiths and other guys over on that side. So it's still very rough. I need to actually make a nice setup for it, but that's good enough to get the job done for now. Looks like all my maps are gone. They probably got blown up by the charged creepers from the mobhead farm. That's too bad. And this is another side of my main storage. So if this one I definitely already have a map. I'm just gonna need to make a copy of it. I've got an old iron farm, the universal tree farm, some sugarcane farms. This is, of course, the main storage. I have a vine farm up there, and then some flower farms going out this way. And there's actually an old villager breeder all the way out there. Okay, so I only need the 3x4, I think. Yeah. Cool. So it turns out I need to update just one little section up here. I have some odd kind of aesthetic build and something underground I was playing around with. Completely forgot to make a map here in the end for a couple Enderman farms I got. This is an original one I made. Just hang out in here, look at the Enderman, they run up at you and you kill them. Then I have an improved one up here. Obviously with Nembon's design, I believe. I may need to come back and fix it at some point. The last time I used this was after I updated, because my zombie pigman, XP and gold farm wasn't working because it wasn't working well because I didn't have the floors initially built out of magma blocks. So now that I got that fixed, I had no reason to come back out here again. Oh yeah, this pathetic little thing here was an attempt at making an Enderman farm. I think it worked. Actually, it was just really absurdly slow. It's one of the things where, again, you just look at Endermen, and then they come after you and you kill them. But yeah. And this was the setup I used to bring shulkers in from the end back to my overall mob switch that I ended up making. Of course, which no longer works because they're still sitting in minecarts. So I need to figure out what I want to do with them. Also had a wither killing setup down here, but of course I had to fill it in to make sure the shulkers would only transport up here. I need to rebuild one at some point now that soul sand is renewable. Nice, so I already made the map with this basic stuff here. I need to get rid of the upper platform at some point. But yeah, this is my new perimeter. I got it worked out pretty well. It's I mean, ultimately this is still my spawn chunks, so I'm gonna want to move this, move all these maps to another location because you want to minimize the number of entities you have in fully loaded, fully processed chunks. But I like it for now, and it's good to have it at least set up, everything up to date and arranged. There's I gotta clean up some things here and there. I missed a corner of a map, but it's pretty good. So I have my old main base. A bunch of the initial farms and stuff when I was just learning. A failed mob farm, because it's always good to remember where you started. Started with the old slime and general mob farms. Goes on down here. It was cool seeing some of the old maps. So this was when I had my first perimeter, the witch up perimeter, only partially bombed out, and this is the initial status. That witch farm there is this one here. So it's just, it was kind of fun to have some older maps to see what I had. I had an old witch farm, just a single witch hut. There's a slime farm down there, but that no longer exists. And this was I couldn't spell perimeter apparently. And this then was Nembon's style, just general mob farm. So that was a step up even from all the other ones I had. And it's a little hut. I don't know, you can't really see it. It says, there you go, perimeter hut. It was a bit hopeful at the time. I wasn't actually expecting to follow through with it. It seemed like a rather large project, and it definitely was, but ultimately I got it done. And so now I got a whole bunch of additional farms built in there. And this is the full scale zoomed out. So it's kind of cool. You can still see it, definitely. And a map zoomed all the way out, but then unlike some of the other perimeters that are just bombed out, this actually has, sea lanterns and glass placed throughout the whole entire thing. So it's definitely a lot of effort, but I think it turned out pretty well, and it's fun to just have around. Real set, got some old iron farms here. I'm just leaving them. I already cleared out the villagers, so they're not going to be adding to any processing that needs to be done. At the edge, this was the shulker based mob switch, which of course they're still sitting there, but it doesn't work anymore. And then down here you can kind of make out there's something that I had for the 113 and before, double zombie spawner based mob switch. That of course no longer works, but it's a kind of huge underground building. So it's kind of fun still to be able to kind of see it. This is my main storage. So it's a bunch of loops. goes back and forth, and it's it's more than enough for all the items currently in the game to automatically get sorted out. You input the shulker boxes or the loose items in here, and it all gets sent around in a massive double loop through 2 different layers and get sorted out. It's a bit inefficient. There's way too many hoppers. So at some point I may want to build a new main storage, making use especially of the multi-item sorters. So whenever I try to go to the flower farms up here, these ones here, and end up unloading some of the chunks here, it lags out horrifically. And it's just rough moving back and forth between some of the chunks because it tries to load and unload the certain number of hoppers over here. So I may eventually want to make a new main storage. I think, given how like awesome this project, I think this project is, there's like out that direction from here, there's another end portal. So I may end up making a new main storage all the way out there, which seems a bit far, but given what I have built up, and I figured out some nice way of moving items around in the nether with using some chest minecarts. So it may actually be somewhat practical to make it happen, to make a new main storage further out. Feels a little weird, but it could be nice not having to worry about having to deal with all the all the stuff that's built up in here, and to be able to use some of the new like Minecraft technology to make it work. So here's a guardian farm. Obviously I need to remove some things, revise some things, and then rebuild and build up a new sorting and crafting setup. But it's there. And then potion brewing, you can't really see it much, but this is the main area here. I have a netherwort farm in here, and then the brown mushroom farm in here, and a rabbit's foot farm here. So I think it all worked out pretty well. It's nice to get some updated maps and get a look at things. It's fun to see some of the larger, especially the new projects, and some of the old ones. But yeah, it's cool to see how things are progressing, and and especially some of the older maps. Some of where I came from. Is yeah, my failed farm here. Yeah, I definitely didn't have anything that worked as well, or that was on the scale of one of the kind of projects that I'm used to taking on now. And I guess that's it for this video. Hope y'all enjoyed, and take care. Cheers.